Spooky, scary Nicolas Cage? Hey everyone, welcome to Prince the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Longlegs. This movie got some notable hype. It's a horror movie with Nicolas Cage as the villain, and apparently he's actually really terrifying in this. That's actually all I know about the movie. I don't know like what the plot's about or anything. I don't know conceptually like what it focuses on or what kind of horror movie it is. I just know that people find Nicolas Cage's performance in this actually really scary. And I mean, it's Nicolas Cage as a horror villain. It's like what the hell? Um this just came at the end of August to digital, so we're all good on that. And I'm very curious to see what we get from this. Uh, I can't even begin to imagine. Like I said, I don't really know anything about this. I don't know what to expect, but this is a donation reward for Venom. No surprise there. Thank you, as always, Venom. And yeah, definitely curious to see where this goes and if I enjoy this movie, as apparently a lot of other people do. Let's find out. Let's just get into this and see what Longlegs has to offer. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions with two on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but I upload them on the weekend. And don't forget all the gaming content we have both on this channel and the secondary Princess of Gaming channel. We have Horizon Forbidden West every other day and Baldur's Gate 3 every single day on this channel, while we also have Nier Automata every Saturday on the other. And don't forget to click the link down in the description below to get to today's reaction. I redirected just due to copyright reasons. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get on to the reaction. We're back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This is a weird movie in a lot of ways. And I just spent like maybe 10-15 minutes looking things up because I was confused about quite a few things. There were quite a few things that were never explained, quite a few things that I didn't quite get. And even after looking things up, I'm still not 100% sure on a lot of things because a lot of it seems to come down to theories. And there's no like concrete explanation for things like why exactly is he like referring to himself as Longlegs? Why the dolls? How did he enter this Faustian bargain with Satan in the first place? Why does he look the way he does currently? And so many different questions. And again, I read some theories on things like and some things that were like, I guess, like revealed through things in interviews and stuff, but were still left pretty vague. Like apparently there was like this song recording that was supposed to be like the only footage of him before he became a follower of Satan and everything. And it's like I guess it suggests that he was like a normal kind of person who got like forced into this and everything, and he was probably even like some kind of like rocker and stuff. Things like that. You get the idea. You can look that all up yourself if you want to. A lot of it is still confusing. A lot of it seems to purposefully be left up to interpretation. It's like it's supposed to be vague because it doesn't entirely matter. But from what I'm getting from it, back in 74, I believe it was 74, 75, something like that, he went to their house, interacted with Lee and her mother, and at some point after that initial interaction, he had, like, tied and bound her up on the living room floor and forced her to make a deal with him to spare Lee, because I guess he was going to kill her, but to spare Lee in exchange for helping him, for the mom helping him commit these murders over the course of these, like, couple decades and everything. And so she would dress up as a nun, pretend to be giving, like, a prize won by like, random draw from a church, and would give these dolls that Longlegs would make that had these metal spheres inside the head that at first glance seemingly would contain nothing, but in actuality contained somehow a piece of Satan, or like Satan's influence in sort of like this manifestation of form. And so that when the doll was brought into the house and all, it would not really possess, but more influence the father to kill everyone else in the family and then himself. Still doesn't quite answer about, like, the doll being taken out afterwards and everything. And, what's the deal with that? Because that would have the mother's fingerprints and stuff on it, right? So she would have to come back and take that out. Also, she would have to touch pretty much nothing else in the house, because they've said they've found no evidence that anyone else was in there, right? So, but yeah, and a letter is left there that I assume the mother brings as well, from Longlegs. And again, this has been going on for decades, and it's what allowed Lee to live all this time, to grow up. The mother, clearly, it showed through the flashbacks, was horrified by it at first, but did it because she wanted to protect and, save her daughter's life. But clearly, also by the end, it's very clear that she became just as, fucked up as Longlegs about it. She was just as guilty. She was just as, psychotic and evil. Like, her, like, desire to not participate anymore had completely gone. And it seems like probably through these, I guess, deals with the devil, both Longlegs and her were driven kind of to insanity, from what it seems. So, it's, in a way, very tragic. But it also seems like the reason why Lee had these almost clairvoyant-like powers that were honestly very briefly touched on. But also, like, on top of that, the reasons why she didn't have any memories of that day and couldn't remember, like, anything in relation to all of that, or knew that clearly Longlegs was living in her mother's basement this entire time. It seems to stem from the doll, I guess, and when her mother shot the doll, it seemed to, like, have broken the spell, in a way. But then why did the mother shoot the doll if she was still going to, do Satan's bidding? Was there, like, some part of her that was, like, trying to, like, break Lee free of it so she could do something? Or, was it something that she was, like, I guess, told to do by Satan. I don't know. Um, but yeah, there were a lot of things that were made that were pretty clear where it was going, like with the birthdays being brought up, like Ruby, I think her name was the boss's daughter. With her birthday being brought up and everything, it's like I could already tell that was going to be a big thing. Um, Lee's birthday was brought up in her just in her phone conversation with her mom. I knew that was going to be a thing. It's like you could see kind of like where certain things were going, but then other things kind of caught you off guard, and certain aspects of it were a little confusing if we're being honest. But I mean, outside of the performances, especially obviously Nicolas Cage's, which was insane. Um, I think the most notable thing about this movie was that, unlike, I would say, unlike most horror films that I've seen at least, in a way that I feel like almost no other horror film has done, for me at least. Obviously, it's different for everyone who watches, but this film, from the way it was shot to the way certain scenes were directed, the main actress being so very clearly anxious and even in some ways like barely there half of the time. And not to mention, of course, every time he showed up, Nicolas Cage's performance and everything. But all of this kind of combined made this film kind of instill more anxiety and dread in me than I think most other films I've seen. Like, I'm sitting here, and I voiced this during the reaction. I voiced that I was extremely uncomfortable. Like, I was, like, not really okay kind of discomfort. Um, there were good portions of time where I was extremely quiet, and I've talked about before. There are like certain times where I get very quiet when I'm like feeling certain emotions, such as anger, for example. If I'm like extremely angry, I seethe. I sit there in silence and I seethe. I don't get like loud and boisterous. I don't throw things. I seethe. I get very quiet and I just stew in it. But it's not the only emotion that kind of makes me extremely quiet. Fear, like when I'm actually like really fucking afraid of something, I lock up completely. Like I freeze. I can't react. It's like you know how like a lot of people have a fight or flight instinct? I don't have that. I have a freeze instinct. If I am like scared to that degree, I just get very very quiet and uncomfortable. And that was most of the film, like outside of like rubbing on my skin, like there were points where I was like doing stuff like this and all. um I'm sitting there, I'm like just extremely anxious. And there were multiple points I had to remind myself to talk because it's a reaction. I need to react. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh shit, I need to say something. And I'm like, and basically it just comes out with like, I don't know what to say here. But it's talking. It's me like saying something by saying I don't know what to say. um and it's just like, again, it's the soundtrack, the way certain scenes are shot. It all adds up to make it so unnerving that it's like it's not going to be a movie where it's like, oh, it jump scares you, or something so grisly and bloody and horrific happens that it just grosses you out. No, it's more about instilling as much fear and dread in you as possible without having to rely on that other kind of stuff. And it succeeds. I'm still I'm still a little shaken, if I'm being honest. Like I said, it took me like 10-15 minutes. I was looking stuff up because I didn't want to go straight into the afterthoughts. And because I was like also confused at certain aspects, but I didn't want to go straight into the afterthoughts because I just wanted to take a moment and relax. Like I was tense as fuck. Like every muscle in me was like locked. um and like I said, it's the kind of like tension, the kind of fear, the kind of discontent where you just you're not okay. It's like this kind of visceral, unsettling unease that leaves you in a state of panic. And not necessarily in the way of like, again, screaming or throwing your hands around or like jumping back, but like you are afraid something's going to happen to you. And like logically, I know that's not going to happen. It's a fucking movie. But what the fuck? It's one of those cases where I kind of question, how do you make this? Like, obviously, satanic horror movies have been done a lot. Serial killer movies have been done a lot. Supernatural horror, a lot. These are not, like, new concepts in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they're very old concepts. But it's the way it's executed. Again, the direction, the camera work, the not design, the style, I guess, the style choices they make, like having certain shots be in like that weird that box, like almost like you're looking through a viewfinder focus and stuff like that. Shots like that and various other choices they've made make it very uncomfortable. And again, it instills dread. It instills genuine fear. Even though it's a movie, and you know it's a movie, you are, like, at least I was, really concerned for my well-being watching this. It's a psychological thing, and I can't fully explain why. Like, I don't have that kind of knowledge, that kind of study. I didn't do that in college or whatnot. But it's absolutely a psychological thing where it's like you are almost tricked into believing you as a viewer are in danger, even though you're not. If I were watching this in a movie theater, a dark movie theater, I would have probably literally pissed myself. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I would have probably pissed myself out of fear. Like I said, I watch a lot of horror movies, not just on this channel, but in general. I have seen a lot of horror movies, and very few actually scare me. It takes a lot for a horror movie to scare me, and a lot of it comes down to I've just seen so many, I'm desensitized to a lot of things. Like for Terrifier 2. Like, people were apparently leaving the theater and puking and stuff from that movie. And I'm just sitting here, like, dancing, like, hey, Art the Clown, yay, fun times. I'm psychotic, in other words. But no, I'm desensitized to that stuff. Like extreme gore and everything like that doesn't bother me as much as it would other people. Because I've seen enough of that to this point where it has to be presented in specific ways to actually affect me. Otherwise, just extreme gore isn't going to upset me or disgust me or anything on its own. Stuff like jump scares. It's like, yeah, I'll jump at a jump scare because it's the surprise of it, but it's not really scary per se, for the most part. There's always exceptions to any rule. But for the most part, it's not really scary. I'm not like genuinely quaking my boots from a jump scare. But psychological shit, that's, I think, what gets me more than most things. That, and then, like, things that are, like, way too real or personal for me. Things like that get me more often than a lot of stuff. Monsters don't usually scare me. Undead, etc., etc. But, like, when you get, like, very, very fucking personal, yeah, that'll freak me out because it's something that I can connect to. When you get like very, very real, like this is like way too real to the point it's like very unsettling because this kind of stuff happens in real life constantly and in very horrific, unexpected ways. It's like, yeah, that freaks me out. But even with something like this, which is supernatural and, you know, a bit over the top because Nicolas Cage, it's, again, it's all about execution. It's the way it's executed. I can't 100% say for sure because thinking of this kind of stuff off the top of my head is difficult for me. I can't remember every movie I've seen or reacted to, and I don't remember my exact reaction or thoughts or feelings after each one, of course. But at least just off the top of my head, just thinking about it initially, this is probably one of the scariest movies I've seen. Period. In terms of actually instilling fear in me, the dread I was feeling, yeah, I was I was fucking scared. From Nicolas Cage, of all actors, too. Nicolas Cage is a fucking weird actor. He's a goofball, he's silly, he's over the top. Sometimes he can play a little more grounded, but he's known for being ridiculous. But horror is usually not what I think of him for. Like, even some of the horror kind of movies he did, like Willy's Wonderland, is still fucking ridiculous and goofy. I don't think of Nicolas Cage as being scary. But I guess here we fucking are. Like, his performance in here was almost unrecognizable. If it weren't for him just, like, randomly belting out song lyrics or shit, I would not have realized that was him. Like, he was so lost in this role that it didn't feel like Nicolas Cage. It didn't feel like I was watching the same guy from um, 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 Con Air or National Treasure or any of these kinds of films. It didn't feel like the same guy at all. Like, it almost felt more like a documentary of a real life satanic serial killer. It's just, the performance kind of left a pit in my stomach. And it's just, this is going to take some recovery. I'm going to have to watch something nice after this. I don't know what. One Piece maybe or something. I don't know. I'm going to have to watch something or maybe just eat my feelings away or something, because I do tend to use that, if I'm being completely honest here, as a coping mechanism. It is not healthy, it's not a good thing, but I do it. I might have to, I don't know, I'm gonna have to find something to like take my mind off of this, because the more I think about this, the more freaked out I'm gonna make myself. I just know it. It's like whenever I start thinking about existential shit, it's like it spirals. It spirals so goddamn hard, and I become depressed, horrified, just uncomfortable, and I want to lay down in my bed and cry. That is going to happen if I do not watch something else and distract myself. Um, Yay, good movie, I guess. Um, I mean, it's well made. Clearly, I find this to be an extremely well made film to have instilled this much dread in my heart. I don't know if I would ever be able to watch this again, though. It's possible. Maybe with someone else's reaction, maybe that would help me um, focus myself on not thinking about the dread. But I don't know. I don't know. There's some movies that I just can't watch more than once. This might be one of them. Tell me your thoughts down below, because I really do need to go and watch something else. Tell me your thoughts down below. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Connie. I need a hug, and I'm going to go eat myself into oblivion. See y'all next time.